So the two words that jumped out, this one was lotus lips, and just the thoughts about what the consciousness of Brahma must have been like for God's knowledge to come out in the purest way, out of the way, out of the way. So there was some thoughts about, you know, when we get opportunities to share knowledge and come through the mouth, are the lips lotus, like a lotus? You know, it's, you know, the shape of the lips is a bit like the lotus, but more about the consciousness. So the, you know, the lotus sits on top of the water, we know, very pristine, even though the roots are connected to mud and debris and whatever. So, but the actual flower stays pristine.
Water lilies, don't we?
No, lotus is different than water lilies. Yeah. At the Kew Gardens, they have an area that's just kind of lilies, massive, but lotuses are different. So, but just the thought, you know, for the self, in a way, the preparation to share knowledge. There's a lot of preparation so that when it does come out, it's completely clean and pure, and there's no ownership of it. You know, there's no. It's very clear that it's God's knowledge. Just an instrument, like a conduit. Conduit is quite a nice word, and so that it's almost preserving the purity of it. Seems like that was a really big highlight. And yes, Baba knows that we're still in the world, but how much effort to be that pristine lotus, so that whatever comes out, and just not only when giving knowledge, but just generally in life, you know, how much is it, what the soul, how much soul consciousness, that what comes out of the mouth is kind of worthy of being an instrument for Baba, whether you're in front of people or not. You know, the whole thing, how much is it pure, what's coming out? So that was what caught the attention. And yesterday's Murli, there just was one line that Baba said, was that there's either soul consciousness or body consciousness. There's no grey area. Sarah and I kind of looked at each other, no grey area. And that's something really important to contemplate on, that if there isn't the proactive soul conscious attention, if there isn't that in a way desire to be soul conscious, you know, that pure desire to be in the truth, being soul conscious, then there isn't anything else. There's just body consciousness in either kind of a gross or grosser form. And maybe the other word that jumped out was subtle. Baba talked about subtle and gross intellects, so how much attention to be in that subtle awareness. And we know that the thoughts are subtle, the feelings are subtle, the attitudes are subtle, the perceptions are all subtle. So much attention to, or, you know, enjoy the attention, you know, not feel should, but just to be willing and wanting to pay attention to how much is all that's going on there subtle in terms of spiritual. So these were just some thoughts that came. And someone made a comment that Baba, he looks at us like through a magnifying glass, especially when you hear Avyak Murlis, it's a bit like he's gone in there and he's looked at everyone and he knows what's going on. And in a way, there's a great opportunity at this time to do the same for the South. And there's many analogies we could use, like weeding out thoughts that are just not beneficial, not helping, they're just extra, they don't take you anywhere. And of course, Maya's very keen on the ego and very, very keen on putting yourself a bit up or putting yourself a bit down. And Maya's, you could spend your whole life in that and to pay a lot of attention. And Maya's very clever, supremely clever, Baba says. She's equal powerful. Sometimes he says she's supremely, not the supremely, with the small s, but the supremely with a big S. But it's almost like waiting at the edge of your mind. There was, from a long time ago, we went up to Yorkshire to visit, on the way back we visited a sister who lived on the edge of the Yorkshire moors. It was all a bit kind of like it was evenings, it was all a bit like that. And she was sharing how she had asked Baba, what if you could give me an analogy for Maya, what would it be? Baba uses alligator, but she wanted her own personal way to understand it. And like I think the next Amrit Vela, at the end of the Amrit Vela, she saw this image, and she said it was a very beautiful woman, and sitting in a really grand chair, very ornate chair. The clothes were impeccable, and the hair was kind of tied up in a bun, and looked impeccable. And she looked directly at her and said, "Don't think you're so clever, I know your every move." So it's like this feeling of Maya's just at the edge of our mind, waiting for us to have a useless thought, a negative thought, a complaining thought, a waste thought, and boom, just anything that grab hold of. And so before anything can come out as kind of from the lotus mouth, a lot of attention, Baba says not attention, but a lot of attention to what thoughts are being allowed to ruminate. And Baba wants us to create pure, divine, soul-conscious thoughts about Baba, understanding Baba more. And this word gradually, it seems to be true from experience that gradually, in the way that you may take up a topic with Baba, like Baba as your friend or something, like really want to get that feeling. And there's a kind of, the more you go into it, the more you experience it. It's a kind of gradual, almost crystallization or commitments. And maybe at first there's a kind of exploration, gradual understanding, and then by the end as you become more committed. So in that way it could be a kind of gradual. Baba like put it next to the tree, but in a way the internal process is like a tree, isn't it? There's seeds and it grows, and so this relationship of friendship with God is such a kind of elevated relationship of, and why would we want to be friends with God? It's good to ask these questions. Why would I want God as my friend? To almost come from the other angle. And then you start considering Baba as completely loyal to soul consciousness. you know, you can think of friends loyal to you, but I was completely loyal to seeing the truth. No one else can sustain it. Even seniors, that was completely loyal to soul consciousness and ever available day or night. You want to shift your consciousness to him, and totally trustworthy. Even if you pour your heart out to Baba, you'll never go anywhere else. So you can feel completely safe, secure, and you can be honest. Baba's the best listener. But he also gives constructive feedback. So some friends will want to say something to you because, you know, might get upset and lose the friendship. But Baba gives constructive feedback, either through any way, but mostly through the Murli. And so his friendship is empowerment. So, you know, this is just one relationship, but friendship, we talk about Friday as Friendship Day. So it's quite a nice, you know, it's like the end of your school, you know, the school week is finishing, and now it's like the friendship. And so it's nice. Everyone's usually more excited on the Friday than the Monday in the world in general.
Naming of friends.
Huh?
Friday you start remembering of friends.
Yeah, that's it. You know, who am I going to play with on the weekend? And just this feeling of Baba's the friend, because, you know, he's at, you know, your mother and father aren't always around. You know, sometimes you don't want to, but like friendships, you do such fun, good things with them, you know, and it makes it more, the relationship with Baba, adventurous. So on a subtle level, very adventurous, but even as you go around the world with Baba, you know, in your everyday life, to have God as your kind of really close friend sitting right next to you, that keeping you stable on drama, because we all know anything can happen any moment, and to be able to say Baba, you know, so quick. And this one went on a trip to America, and was staying in actually a Lockett household, and they were all out and tripped and fell, and I didn't realize at that time I'd broken the wrist. But so pleased looking back on that, the first thought was Baba. So who cares about the whole thing that went through, just the fact that remember Baba straight away. And Baba wants that the first thing, any situation. Yeah, that's a kind of a bit more major. And actually it was a very, very good experience, the whole thing. But Baba wants that in every situation, at every moment. He just wants us to, it's almost between us and the thought, Baba. Before any other thought can come, Baba. And that takes good practice, good practice. In fact, the situation is something else, isn't it? It's between the soul and the next thought, and Baba's got to be there. The situation is kind of a bit immaterial, really, but that's the victory, isn't it? Something comes, Baba. This is just a few thoughts, and then if that is going on, and we all know when it isn't going on what sort of things happen, but when that is going on, then what's going to come out of the lips are, you know, going to be kind of worthy of being Baba's child. And going to what was said about the vibration, especially when you've been away from a centre for a while, which this one is getting quite a lot of experience of. When you come back to the centre, you really can feel it, and just the vibration here. If anyone's local, come, because it's very incorporeal here. Because there's a lot of attention to the incorporeal stage, particularly at this centre in Cambridge. It's almost like the soul can rest on that. it's when you're in it all the time, you may be not noticing it, but definitely it's there. It's like someone can sit on it, the vibration. And every center has a beautiful vibration, all different reasons. Global House has its own. But the experience also is that even wherever you are, as soon as you put up Baba's picture, and you might have to do that in an incognito way, or but as soon as you put up Baba's picture or some kind of picture or something that's spiritual, and you have a little bit of meditation, Baba can start shifting that energy, and especially when you're in a household that's not Brahmin, and to have a little place that you can go that's, Baba is operating from there, and that's going out to the whole household. It's amazing, actually. It makes you realize wherever you are, if that consciousness is there, that things can change. And just there was one situation with siblings, Lokic siblings, and they were a bit like this, and so there's been this practice for years to take them to the subtle region and tell Baba about what's happening, and then just leave it, leave it in Baba's. And then this one came away from that situation and went back to that situation. It has so shifted. Really, it's amazing. And you think, yeah, just leave everything in Baba's. He knows what those souls, and just good wishes, pure feelings. Of course, we continue to do that, but it's amazing how things can change if you just put it in Baba's hand and not be thinking too much about it. It's not my responsibility, and that really links into the Murli yesterday, that we are children, and but not to be too responsible. This one's been over responsible. Probably from 4 years of age I was responsible, so or like a child. So it's not that you don't do your duties and whatever, but not to carry any. Baba doesn't want us to carry a burden of it. Just he's ultimately, and sometimes things might look like they've gone wrong because that opens up another door, and we have to be okay with that as well. It looks like you think, oh, it's all falling apart, but actually it's because it's perfectly all right. So we can finish on, it's 8 now, so we can finish with everything's perfectly all right. It's a lovely, whatever happens.